Well, it is a pleasure, and once again, thank you for joining us once again. I understand that one of the things that drives a man is passion. And so when I begin to speak about the Uganda Small Scale Industries Association, I speak about it with passion. And of course, I want to thank you, those that have registered with Uganda Small Scale Industries Association. I understand it's one of the organizations that fights not just for the lives of those that are starting business, but also they help you to go through the different processes. I understand that UZIA has so many projects that we have already discussed in the previous interviews, but this time around our emphasis will be on the WOBIV project. Of course, this is a project that is supported by the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industries and Fisheries, of course under the Uganda Small Scale Industries Association. I also want to give credit to the European Union, and of course not forgetting URI. These are some of the key partners that give support to the Uganda Small Scale Industries Association under this project. But of course, before we go any further, let me begin with this lady called Justin. She's a member of the Uganda Small Scale Industries Association. She's a person who left her banking business and got engaged in this business. UZIA has played a very key role to make sure that she succeeds and get where she is.
So I'm Justin Niwagaba. I'm the proprietor of First Class Cuts Butchery. We are located in Chanja next Prime Petrol Station, and then we have another branch in Chebando. So I've been in this business for more than 5 years, and well, it has not been a smooth journey. It has been challenging, but also it has been exciting, and it has been good. So before I started this business, I was doing banking. I was a banker. That means I was leaving home at 7, and I had to be at work. Actually, it was 6:30. I had to be at work by 7:30 because we would open then by 8, and I was in charge of the daily operations. So that means I had to be very early to prepare for the next day. So it became really hard for me to juggle work and then family. I had to drop kids early in the morning, and then in the evening I should have picked the children, but of course I couldn't, because most times I would be coming home at around 9 o'clock. So it became stressful for both me, the children, and then my husband. The kids were getting sick. So we decided that we sat down and calculated and realized that we were actually not even making money, but we were investing in the company. So we agreed that I sit at home and take care of the children. But you know, when you're a woman and you have gone to work and you have made some money, and you know you are in charge of money, it is very hard to sit down and be at home without doing something. So I thought about the most appropriate business that I could do. So since I loved meat, and most times I would not get the best meat, I decided that I was going to do a business that involved meat. I did a bit of research. I went to Ntinda market, did a bit of research around there, and then asked people where they get meat, how much they make as a profit, and then estimated the kind of kilos that they could sell. And I was like, maybe that can work for me. So I started on looking for an appropriate place, which I got in Chanja, and that is where I am till today. So I started off. It did not require a lot of money to start. The biggest chunk of actually money that I needed went to rent. It was not in capital. So I needed a bit of little capital, because I started with little meat, like 15 kilos, and it wasn't really much. So I am really happy that I started this business, because it gave me time to be with my children. It gave me time to have some bit of cash on myself as a woman, to take care of myself and spoil myself, buy myself a dress. But it has also been challenging. You know, it is not a straight business. You wake up one morning and the meat in the abattoir has shot up, and then you have to come and put the burden on the customers, and then they are complaining, and it really feels bad, but I mean, that is how business goes. But also, the other challenge is getting reliable workers, people who you can count on, and if you cannot get reliable workers, even suppliers, sometimes when you get a supplier, the supplier will not tell you that now the meat is down. They want to maintain that kind of price. So putting into practice what we learn is also another challenge. You learn new things and then you want to put them into practice, and then the customers are complaining. So this program has been brought to you, to me, the Smart TV has been brought to me through UZIA, and I really want to thank UZIA. I've been a member of UZIA for 1.5 years, and in my membership, I've been able to get training. I got training on the standards of meat, on how to handle meat, on how to deal with different types of meat. So I'm really, really grateful to UZIA. And I have actually training certificates. I was able to obtain certificates through their training. So UZIA has been helpful. It has been able to show me what I can do, add value to meat. I mean, put myself above the normal. If it is a butchery, you can add value to it. So I would really appeal to the public to come and join UZIA, to come and be part of the bigger team. Because UZIA in full is Uganda Small Scale Industries Association. Come and be part of the bigger team, and then you'll get opportunities just like this one. Thank you very much.
Well, that is it. This time around, I am joined by Mr. Ssekayiba Edward. He is in charge of strategic partnership and monitoring and evaluation at the Uganda Small Scale Industries Association. We'll be making sense of the WOBIV project, its contribution, the challenges. Mr. Edward, thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much, Fred. As introduced, my name is Edward Ssekayiba with Uganda Small Scale Industries Association. Probably I would start by talking about UZIA.
Oh yes, what is this organization all about?
UZIA is a voluntary business membership organization of small and medium industries. We started business in 1979 through two great industrialists. One of them is the late Kanakulia Banga. And since then, the focus of the business association is to promote the interests of the industrialists who are engaged in value addition. We have clocked 41 years since it started. And as an association, we have close to 9 regional offices in Uganda, from Karamoja to Central to the east, and as far as Fort Portal and Kasese. Our services are broadly categorized into 3. That is advocacy and legislative influence. Secondly, there is membership service delivery, whereby we offer various services to our members. And thirdly is broadly looking at recruitment and governance, recruitment of members who are engaged in value addition. Thank you.
I would want to know, or someone watching us from wherever they are coming from, of course I know UZIA operates countrywide. One would want to know, if I want to get involved with UZIA as an organization, what are the credentials or the requirements?
Our mandate as UZIA is to support anyone engaged in value addition. And I think I mentioned it that UZIA is a voluntary business membership organization. You are not forced to enter. But again, you must have the passion, maybe to look at interacting with your colleagues in the same sector. And one of the best platforms for you to benefit from is if you join Uganda Small Scale Industry Association. So if you engage in value addition in any type of commodity in Uganda, you qualify automatically to be a member of Uganda Small Scale Industry Association. We have 9 regional offices. Our national secretariat sits in Kampala, here at Uma in Lugogo Showgrounds. And if you approach us, we can take you through the steps of how you can join, or if you are located in any of our 8 regions, right, that be it in Karamoja, be it in Igulu, Arua, Mbarara, Fort Portal, we have regional offices there. You can gain access to information regarding the contracts for these regional offices from our website. That is www.ugandasmallscale.org. www.uzia.or.ug. From there, there's a membership application form which you can fill in. Then we'll receive it at the National Secretariat, and then we'll be getting in touch with you on how we can do it further.
Okay. If I heard you well, you did say that this is a private organization. And I understand you can't speak about meat production in Uganda. And you don't speak about the ministry, we locally call it MAIF, which is the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industries and Fisheries. I would want to know, what is your current relationship with Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industries and Fisheries?
Okay, thank you, Fred. As UZIA, we responded to a call for applications or call for proposals, which was issued by the Ministry of Finance. There is a big program called WOBIV. WOBIV is an acronym for Developing a Market-Oriented and Environmentally Sustainable Beef Meat Industry in Uganda. The project is a 5-year project. It commenced in 2016-2017. It is anticipated to end in 2021. And as the MAIF is considered a supervisor under that WOBIV framework. The Ministry of Finance is the contracting authority, and both the government of Uganda and the European Union, those are the co-funders. So UZIA responded to a call, and we focused on our niche, that is the processing, adding value, and we won the we won our application which we submitted, and we are now running a grant. It's a 28-month grant, and it is operating in 4 districts of Uganda. So MAIF comes in as a supervisor because there are other implementing partners, which are 4, including Private Sector Foundation, Uganda Meat Producers Cooperative Union, NAGRIC, and NALERI. So UZIA, each one has its own part they play under the WOBIV framework. So UZIA contributes to a result area 3 that is focusing on marketing, transportation, and adding value, specifically targeting the women and youth who are engaged in, who are neglected in the value chain of beef.
Okay. Maybe before we go to the consumption, I would want to know, why are you so much interested in this meat project?
As you are aware, we've had incidences as Uganda, as recent as the one whereby there were issues regarding hygiene. We're talking of the flies infecting, or maybe our colleagues in processing allegedly using chemicals to ward off flies. So UZIA, we felt that we needed to play a part in contributing on how we can improve the sector by looking at our focus as UZIA who are engaged in meat processing. All those colleagues of ours who are handling butchers, maybe with other players who are engaged in value addition, they handle that very sensitive process or very sensitive stage in the beef value chain, and that is the processing. So food safety is key. Beef meat safety is key. How it is processed, how it is handled is key. So as UZIA, we said, let's partner with our colleagues URI, who are good in value addition. Let's partner with our colleague UNBS, who have the knowledge in food safety, and we bring the youth and women and give them the necessary knowledge regarding food safety and the techniques and skills regarding beef value addition.
Okay.
Yeah.
And of course, those viewing us, I must bring this to your attention, that this program is brought to you by the Uganda Small Scale Industries Association, of course in partnership with the European Union, of course not forgetting URI. Of course, those of you that are there, you're still stranded and struggling. You are engaged in this kind of business and you want help, at least from the first level to the other. Of course, feel free to approach Uganda Small Scale Industries Association. Their location, of course, is very known. Come to simply UMA grounds, showgrounds, and then you will be able to be helped. Let's now speak the language of consumption. What does UZIA and government as a whole want to see in Uganda regarding the consumption of meat?
Okay, thank you, Fred. According to a study which was done by Uganda Investment Authority, Uganda's beef meat was considered as the 5th best in the world because of the level of cholesterol. So we should be proud of our beef industry or our beef products. Beef is one of the most nutritious proteins we have in the world. And considering that we have quite a large population of cattle, around 12 to 13 million, I think UBOS did conduct a census of livestock, so they'll come up with new figures. So we have a huge potential within our beef industry, and as Ugandans, we should be taking advantage of the products that are available, or from the cattle, or from the animal itself, the cattle or the livestock. Yeah.
So if basically, you see, Uzia runs so many projects. And of course, we've already conducted some interview with the Skiller project, which is one of the famous projects that have actually changed many lives in Uganda. Let's speak now of the WOBIV project. What is this project all about?
Now, the WOBIV project is contributing to ensuring that we improve our practices in terms of the ones who engage in beef processing, improve the way they handle the beef, that is the butchers or the ones engaged in value addition. Then at the same time, we want to support the final consumer of beef. We want to make sure that we improve on the way the beef that is being put on the plate, the chain, the processes it went through, right from the abattoir up to the plate, are all hygienic and are safe. So as Uzia, ours is focusing on equipping the women and youth who are benefiting from the project with knowledge on how to prepare good books of accounts. We give them skills in green enterprise training. We also give them skills on life skills or workforce skills on how to interact with the customers or within themselves as enterprises. Then we give them the skills rather on how to add value to the product. So at the end of the day, we are saying, please handle the beef meat well, process it safely, and give it to the consumer when it is in a healthy status. So it is basically safe and hygienically processed beef meat value-added products. But we are not stopping at beef meat. We are also looking at the byproducts, because from a cow you get quite a number of products, including the blood. So our project is looking at both the beef meat, then there are the cow horns. By cow horns I mean amayembe, as known in local language, and besides the horns, we are also looking at the bones. So with horns and bones, we are teaching the youth, or we are equipping the youth skills in making the various craft products like these ones. And at the end of the day, ultimately, these are contributing to the overall objective of the project, the WOBIV project, whereby our processing should be environmentally sustainable in terms of the horn which would have been thrown into the environment is handled properly, or the bones which would have been thrown into the environment to contaminate the environment are processed further to give products which can bring in income to both the youth and women. So WOBIV is both beef meat and beef byproducts.
I am greatly challenged. You mentioned three important aspects. You talked about the processing, you talked about the storage, and then of course the final production. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, I know we sometimes make so many mistakes when it comes to this project of the meat product. There are so many mistakes that many Ugandans do out there. Let me present to you this video of how some of us are greatly challenged by the way we handle the meat production. And after this, I'll be returning in our second segment of discussion. Well, it's a pleasure and thank you for joining us once again. My name is Fred Makubia. We're still making sense of the WOBIV project. Of course, we know it's one of the projects that Uganda Small Scale Industries Association has invested a lot of money and time to see to it that they help Ugandans who are engaged in this kind of project. I want to remind us that the Uganda Small Scale Industries Association is determined to help all the small-scale industries in Uganda, both those that have formalized and those that haven't formalized, to go through the right processes, qualify for the markets out there, and become better in their business. Of course, the allocation is known by everybody. Come to Woma Showgrounds. Of course, you'll be able to get this service. I also want to remind you that this project is sponsored by the European Union, of course, not forgetting the ministry in Uganda, which is responsible for agriculture, animal industries, and fisheries, and also not forgetting the URI. I am joined once again by Mr. Edward Ssekayiba. He's in charge of coordinating and evaluating all projects here at the Uganda Small Scale Industries Association. Mr. Edward, there are so many mistakes that Ugandans do out there. Of course, we have seen this video. Help us understand what are more other mistakes that people do in regard to, first of all, meat processing, meat storage, and any other mistakes that you think Ugandans do.
Okay, thank you, Fred. Now, there are quite a number of issues which are overlooked, but they are very critical in ensuring food safety. The Ministry of Agriculture is emphasizing food safety, and as UZIA, we are taking it seriously when we are both educating the beneficiaries of the project, but again we are also conscious that even consumers make those mistakes, like the one which has been shown in the video. Now I will start by looking at ourselves, starting with the meat processors. You see, we did a study prior to in the initial stages of starting this project. We did a study by interviewing various consumers of beef meat in the 4 districts where the project is operating. That is in Mbarara, in Kampala, in Wachiso, and Luwero. And we were asking them simple questions, both the ones in the beef meat processing and even the consumers. Now, for example, we would ask a consumer, a meat processor, can you handle meat when you have a small cut or an abrasion, kawundu katono? They will say, as long as I put a plaster, there is no problem.
That's what I'm also thinking.
But that is a mistake.
Sure.
It's a huge mistake. There is what we call contamination when you are handling beef meat. You might assume that if I put a plaster, I am well protected, so there is no way I can contaminate the meat.
This is blood, but also this is blood.
Yeah, you are right. But again, one thing you have to know that that is the animal blood, that is human blood, and when a wound, however small it is exposed to bacteria or to exposed in the air, it gets contaminated.
It's all blood.
It's all blood, yes. But there's what we call cross contamination. And that is where we get so many small illnesses, which you might overlook, but they have a big impact, a huge impact on the health of Ugandans. There are small bacterial diseases like the E. coli or the salmonella. These ones affect beef meat in addition to other products, and they can affect even the whole family if a consumer picks this contaminated meat from the butcher and takes it back home. And that's why in some of those advanced economies, their systems are so strong, they have what they call product recalls. The moment someone registers a contamination or a small illness from a product which is bought from maybe a processor or a beef meat processor, the whole batch is recalled. So that is how cautious they are when it comes to food safety. So the consumer has to be very careful on how they handle meat. If you go to the supermarket and you are buying your meat products alongside maybe other vegetables, you should be cautious on how you handle the packaging. For example, you should buy your meat products last as you're about to leave the supermarket, and not pick it first and put it in the basket and then continue on maybe shopping other products, because the moment it stays in the basket, it starts thawing and releasing those fluids, and then there it increases the exposure to contamination. So these are some of the tricks which consumers should be aware of. Even processors, putting on a headgear is very important, because anything that comes from a hair and falls on the meat is a contamination. So there are so many things which both the processors, that our colleagues who are handling butchers, and even the consumers should be aware in terms of food safety.
Okay. So talk about the storage. Some of us buy meat which is already processed, either in a restaurant or in a supermarket. Yes, talk about that sort of meat.
Yeah, that kind of meat is healthy, but it is as healthy as far as how you handle it, right from the supermarket. Because when you found it in the supermarket, it was being kept in a refrigerator or a freezer at a certain temperature. That's why, like I said before, how you handle, how you procure the beef product from the supermarket matters. It is better you pack it last, then when you reach home, immediately put it in the freezer. And there are certain temperature ranges which are considered normal or for you to on how to handle the beef. I think this schedule I'll share it with Smart TV, and maybe you'll share it with the consumers out there. We picked these temperature ranges from the Canadian website on food safety, and we believe these are standard temperatures which can be applied everywhere. So the temperature range within your freezer or your refrigerator is very key. Even how you pack or how you store your frozen meat within the freezer is very important. If you put it on the upper chambers, there's a way, in case, for example, electricity goes out, that leaking liquid that comes down and lands on your meat is also some form of contamination. So how you store your meat in your freezer matters. The temperature at which you store the meat in the freezer also matters. Even how you buy your meat from the butcher. Because one of the questions we asked our consumers in Mbarara, I think in Wero, is with them, they wouldn't mind having the meat left open. Because the kawo, the scent remains, the odor remains still fresh. So leaving the meat exposed also exposes the meat to contamination. So packaging matters. Storage matters in the freezer. So those are some of the tricks which Uzi has learned from our colleagues in UNBS and URI on how we should be storing and handling the beef meat products.
You see, it's rare to find a man speaking about meat with passion. I don't know where the passion is derived, but let's now speak statistics, because I know this is not a new project. It's a project that has been there for some time. Now let's speak statistics so that we can bring our viewers on board. Let's speak statistics regarding consumption.
Okay, thank you, Fred. Now, as part of this project, one of the key results was understanding the consumption patterns, the current consumption patterns of beef meat in the four districts rather. So, and why we did this study is because as part of sustainability or sustainability of the project after it has ended, we are supposed to support our women and youth in running their enterprises. And how they are going to run them will be based on the principles of hygiene and safety and being conscious of the consumer, what the consumer wants out there. So we did a study in the 4 districts, and we discovered quite some interesting statistics or information. For example, that in Kampala, we found that on average there are around 3 persons per household. There could be 4, but on average there are around 3 persons, and about 98.8% of them consume beef meat once or 2 times a week. And about the average number of consumption, beef meat consumption per capita, stood at 1.6 kilograms per week. So additionally, when we did some other, now this one translates to around 28.94 kilograms of beef meat consumed per year. Then another interesting statistics regarding the products, their knowledge in terms of the kind of products which they consume. We found that most of the urban dwellers are knowledgeable about the beef meat products, specifically smoked or grilled sausages. Then they are also knowledgeable and even consume minced meat and even these other cooked cured products. And another 4th element or another 4th type of product which they are aware of are the special cuts. Now that was in Kampala. So there was a conclusion which was drawn regarding Kampala district. One of them is, of course, the market is there in terms of consumption of beef meat. They have a greater preference from roasted or grilled meat, minced meat, and cooked products. Then we also had another dimension on looking at what influences their habit towards this kind of consumption, or generally the consumption patterns of beef meat. And one of the biggest fears was the hygiene and safety and handling of the beef meat. So they were cautious of that. I am buying meat, but how safe or how hygienic is that butcherman? So that was Kampala. Of course, maybe one other factor which they were least worried about was gaining weight. With them, it was not a big factor. So when we went to Luwero, we found that on average in Luwero, the average household has around 4 persons, and they consume meat. Now, when I say meat, I mean all types of meat. That is chicken, that is beef meat. Around 99% of the household consume meat 1 or 2 times a week. But out of those 99.6, around 98.4 consume beef meat about 1 to 2 times a week. Okay. That was Luwero. So another interesting statistics regarding consumption there was the per capita consumption per week. On average, we found out that around each person consumes 1.24 kilograms of beef meat, this one translates to around 17.01 kilograms per year. About their knowledge regarding the various beef meat products and whether they are consuming them, we found that our colleagues in Luwero are knowledgeable and also consume sausages. They consume minced meat, and they even buy raw sausages and take them home to consume. Okay. So regarding skills of processing meat, they were good in smoking, grilling sausages. They had some skills in processing or cooking minced meat, and even roasting or grilling meat, the nyama choma. Okay. So that is Luwero, and they had the factors affecting their consumption patterns. One of the least factor was the fear to gain weight, and another thing they pointed out was the retail price of meat. The retail price of meat determines their consumption levels. The higher the price, they shy away from buying, but the lower the price, they would then be willing to consume meat. So our conclusion for Luwero was that most of the consumers in Luwero demonstrated great preference for minced meat, for cooked and raw sausages, and of course the influencing factors were the retail price, and the gaining weight was not so much of an issue. But as Luwero, they also pointed out the issue of animal disease. Okay. Like for example, the current foot and mouth diseases, they are wary of it, and they would be hesitant to take meat, or when they hear that there is an incident of animal disease that is going on in the district. So another district is in Mbarara, the land of milk, and that is one of the districts which falls within the cattle corridor. They are the ones who give us most of the cattle in Uganda. So with them, the average household number is there are 4 persons on average in a house. Okay. And as the people from Mbarara, their consumption is that on an annual basis, they consume around 15 kilograms of meat. And when it comes to their knowledge and consumption levels, the knowledge of beef meat products, they are knowledgeable about special cuts, they are knowledgeable about sausages, cooked sausages, and minced meat. So that is the preference and the consumption patterns in Mbarara. So when it comes to factors influencing their consumption patterns right now, they say that animal diseases, prevalence of animal diseases like foot and mouth diseases, determines how much they would consume. Okay. So in case there's a disease that is currently now as it is in Uganda, their consumption goes down because they are conscious about the diseases. Then another part is another issue that influences is there is the cost, the retail price of beef meat at the butcher. The higher the price, with them they kind of shy away from consumption. Then another least factor that would worry them is gaining weight. With them, that is not an issue.
Of course, that would worry anyone.
So with them, they say with us there is it's a big factor. So we concluded that our colleagues from Barara, they have a great preference for minced meat. They have great preference for sausages and special cuts. And factors are diseases and the retail price. So finally, Wachiso here, the average household has around 3.5 persons, so we can say 3 persons. And the consumption there is 97% of the colleagues in the urban centers of Wachiso consume meat in general, and out of those, 91% of them consume beef meat specifically. That is 1 to 2 times a week. And then annually they consume around 24.87 kilograms of beef meat. So regarding their knowledge, they have good knowledge of special cuts. I think later on I'll tell you about the special cuts, what we mean by special cuts. Then we have grilled sausages. I think that is very visible. We see so many of our youth along the roadside with the grilling muchomo machines, giving our colleagues both the grilled muchomo and the grilled sausages. So that consumption, that market is there for anyone engaged in beef meat processing. So also the colleagues in Wachiso fear weight gain. Then another area is the hygiene and safety. They say the hygiene and safety and handling of the beef meat at the butcher, or even right from the abattoir, determines how they feel towards consuming the beef meat. So from Wachiso, that 4th district, we conclude that most of our consumers demonstrate great preference for special cuts, for minced meat, for sausages, both cooked and raw. And the factors which influence their consumption are the butcher's hygiene, safety, and handling, and the least factor is gain weight. So those are the statistics which we conducted, and we hope to conduct an inline survey and see whether there has been any kind of change in terms of consumption levels or preference or knowledge regarding the various beef meat products which we have introduced in the market. Thank you.
In terms of duration, is this statistics current or?
Yeah, we did this survey in over a period of 3 months, January till March 2020, just before COVID came in. So we deployed our youth in the 4 districts, in Kampala, in Luwero, in Wachiso, and in Mbarara. And the results are based on a confidence level of 95%. We interviewed over 3,000 respondents, an average of around between 800 and 900 respondents per each of the districts. So the statistics are very recent, and they are basically reflecting the current level of patterns in the 4 districts.
Well, of course, you can't speak about research and you don't talk about URI as one of the organizations that we all know that is interested in this. Let's talk now about the contribution URI has made to this WOBIV project.
Yeah,
there is any.
Yeah, there is a very huge contribution, and as you see, that's why we were strategic in partnering with URI in this call for proposals. URI is a powerhouse in terms of giving out knowledge, giving out skills for anyone interested in value addition or engaging industrialization agenda of Uganda. So in this project, URI, they have some good experts. There is a lady called Ida. Unfortunately, she left URI. She joined another organization. There's a powerful team there headed by the Professor Kwesiga. There is Ida who left. There is Bethwell Mubende. There is Lincoln. And there are also other colleagues who are handling the hygiene and safety, which is very crucial.
which we'll actually talk about.
Yeah, hygiene and safety. A team of 3, a lady and 2 gentlemen, who are part of the team, the URI team. So they came into under 2 dimensions. One of them is giving or creating awareness, the initial awareness to our members regarding beef meat handling, beef meat hygiene, beef meat and safety. And by the way, we partnered with URI and UNBS, a lady called Rehema Meme. She's under the food safety department. Under that is Hakim. Hakim is the head of the department. So the team from UNBS and the team from URI came together, developed a good curriculum, which they dispensed to our members. It was both theoretical and practical. They gave them very critical knowledge on how to handle a beef meat processing facility in terms of layout, in terms of how you dress, giving them knowledge on the various standards under UNBS, the good manufacturing practices. There's what we call HACCP, hazard analysis and critical point, then the good hygiene practices, the SSOP. So our members were given that good information, initial foundational information. Then the other technical hands-on team, that is the Bethel Mubende, Aida, and the Lincoln, they gave them the various keys that give birth to around 17 different beef meat value-added products. So URI was very fundamental in our project.
So the contribution is very, very huge. Time seems not to be our friend, Mr. Ssekayiba. Now let's talk about the processing. You know, we have great fears as people who consume meat that the processes that meat goes through is definitely a worry to many of us. Okay. Yes, I don't know as an expert what you have to say about this.
No, I'm not exactly an expert in the process, but we learn some of these things and we interact with our colleagues in URI and in UNBS. There are quite a number of products which Ugandans must be aware of, which are made through different processes or different techniques. And under this project, we have learned around 17 processes which give birth to various kind of products. I think I'll give you a list of the various products and even some images which we'll share with our colleagues. From sausages, they are both coarse and emulsified. Now those are different types of sausages which are made differently. Then there is minced meat, or others call it ground meat. There is meatloaf, there is meat ham, there is kebab. We can make sambusas. So from the fresh meat, by adding value whereby you can get a longer shelf life through maybe adding ingredients or processing it further. They are what we call meat preparations. Whereby you process meat up to a certain level. Some others call it RTE, ready to eat, which you can put in a fridge, you pull out and you just maybe process like sausages. So all those processes are there, but the most important thing around those products is how they are processed, that is hygienically, and how they are stored. And maybe what we need to tell our members is creating awareness about all these products made from Ugandan beef. Then another very crucial product, our value-added product, are the special cuts. Others call them primal cuts, depending from where you are looking at it, the Americans or the British. So these ones are over 50. So from one cow, there are around 9 major parts. We have what we call the chuck, we have what we call the rib, we have what we call the short plate, we have what we call the brisket, wanonga kafumito, then we have what we call the shank, we have what we call the flank, we have what we call the loin, the sirloin, and the round. The round is here near the hind legs. So from all these 9 major parts, primal cuts, we have other small products which are close to 54. So these are what we want our members or our consumers in Uganda, in the urban centers, to be focusing on. And we also urge all our colleagues in the beef meat processing industry, that is our butchers, to adopt this kind of skills, of knowledge regarding the special cuts. You can imagine the current practice right now is when they slaughter the carcass and they fabricate it into special different cuts, different parts. What we are currently doing is when you go to the butcher, you just specify that njagala kilo emu ey'ennyama. Oba I want it from the kafumito, oba ekigere, oba embirizi. Now, and the price is uniform. And that is where maybe our colleagues in business are losing out.
Okay.
Because if you look at special cuts, like our colleagues who are in like the fresh cuts, who are engaged in value addition, you can get up to 3 times more the current price you are using to sell your product. If the average price is 12,000, you might find that apart from a loin or a sirloin, they are what we call like a brisket and a shank. These ones have different prices, and you can grade them different. But of course, that one is targeting the premium market, the high-end market. Okay. But from the average Ugan and for Wetugwa, of course, would maintain that kind of the traditional way of doing things. But most important, what Uzia would like us to emphasize is the hygiene and even the processing. You know, currently now we are using the jambia, the machete, and it is not that healthy.
It is not.
It is not healthy at all. Because
so what should we use?
There are special.
As we plan to probably close this. Yes.
Yeah, there are special saws which are used, and we used to use them in Uganda in the 1960s. In cutting the beef meat. These ones are very affordable instead of using the machete, because you take, now with the machete you take the meat home, it has small pieces of bone which are harmful to the health. So we are promoting the uptake of wood processing techniques using the modern equipment which are made from food grade equipment. That is very important for the final consumer.
Mr. Ssekayiba, your time seems to be in 1 or 2 minutes. Do you have successful stories and your final parting shots, both to the business community and the members of Uganda Small Scale Industries Association? Yeah,
one obvious success story is Justine, whom I'm sure you will show a clip. Then we have, under this project, we have a gentleman who was once a worker in a processing plant. After we trained him, he went solo. He invested his little savings. He bought freezers. He bought a motorbike, whereby he's processing his minced meat, packaging it, and putting it out there in the market. So as also Uzia, through this European Union contribution and the government of Uganda together with our contribution, we are importing a set of machines, food grade machines. We are going to set up 2 facilities, one in Wachiso and one in Mbarara. The one in Mbarara to serve the market there, the one in Wachiso to serve both Kampala and the Luwero market. And we are going to support these enterprises to continue taking up good practices in food safety and hygiene, and even creating awareness among our consumers. But most important is I'm urging our colleagues in processing, that is my colleagues in Kabuta. Kabuta is Kampala Butcher Traders Association. We come together as processors. All processors, all people who engage in beef meat value addition, we come together as one voice. Then we promote the uptake of good practices in beef meat processing. Okay. So that at the end of the day, we build a good name in terms of the kind of meat we produce in the local market, and then from there we can penetrate the regional market in East Africa, then hopefully the high-end market in the European Union and maybe other countries. So coming together as processors is key. Then the consumers, to emphasize that they should be cautious of their health as much as possible, to move towards consuming hygienically processed and produced meat. Then they should be looking forward for Zia, that is coming up with our own brand of beef meat products when we start running the facilities, made in Uganda, processed in Uganda, and of course consumed in Uganda. We'll be giving them updates on that facility when it comes up for running. Thank you.
Mr. Edward, thank you so much. And of course, to you, our dear viewer, thank you for being one part of this discussion. Of course, I have always said, if you want to be an expert in anything, you look for experts. who are specified in that kind of business. Of course, this program is or has been sponsored by the Uganda Small Scale Industries Association, of course, not forgetting the European Union, and as well not forgetting the Ministry of MAIF, which is the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries. And of course, Mwina Abandiagadde Okubera part and parcel of WOZIA as an organization. Of course, they are located here at Uma Showgrounds. If you want to formalize your business, if you want to develop your business, if you want advocacy, if you want to transform your business from one level to the other, the best place to be is not elsewhere, but being in the office of the Uganda Small Scale Industries Association. My name is Fred Makuya.